Well, all right. Welcome into the Kudzoo Radio Hour. And I'm one of your hosts, Michael Buffalo Smith. Please welcome my co host, three gentlemen who are all musicians and musicologists. Boy, my voice cracked when I said that. Musicians and musicologists. And all three of them sound equally great, electric or acoustic. That's true.
Good setup, man. Really good
That's true.
setup.
Very nice.
Coming
Smooth.
Oh,
Smooth.
thank you very much. It's the Coors Light. Yeah, all the way from Whoville, Massachusetts. Yeah, that's right. The same place that Horton came from. That's right.
Horton saved it.
Horton heard it. He heard it.
He did hear it.
And his guy's name is Billy Eli. You love him, you know him, you can't live without him.
Hey, man, how are y'all today?
What's going on?
Billy's working on a brand new album, one of his best yet. It's going to be great. Y'all are going to love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And also assisting with it, as most of his projects have this guy from Austin, Texas, by the name of Jim Hemphill. You see him right there.
What's going on, Hemp?
Guy with the gothic haircut. Yeah. He's it really is. It's pretty cool.
It's actually a non-haircut.
Let me just say, the last time I saw Jim give anybody that look, we were playing some little dive in South Texas, and some guy asked us if we could play Freebird, and that was the look Jim gave.
Yeah, well, I've given that same look many times over the same thing.
Can we or will we?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Those have different answers.
I think in Spartanburg, South Carolina, our reply was, "I got you Freebird swinging," which is really redneck. I love saying things like that. And also, Please welcome to the program. We saved the best for last. He might live in Austin, but he's still a beach. That's right.
That's right.
Hey, nice son of a beach.
Man,
that's right.
I tell you what, Buff, man, you got your mojo. You got your radio host chops going.
Well, yeah, but I'm working on, I worked in radio for 18 years. And back when we used to talk like this, hey, it's WORDAM. I'm Michael B. Smith. But this guy's name is Patrick Beach.
And
a big round of applause and a standing ovation.
I have never played Freebird, and if I ever will, it would be ironically.
Yeah.
Right. It would be, yeah. No, I totally get that.
I have played Freebird because somebody came up and tipped us $20. But I've also tried to play it backwards just to see what happens.
Yeah.
I've played it because I was in a band in the 70s.
Well,
so
you had to.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you just pretty much had to.
I played that. I was in a band in the 70s. I've also played Taking Care of Business.
Have you ever?
You know it.
Also in the 70s.
You know it.
Every day, take care of business.
And the Joker by
Steve Miller Band.
Steve Miller, cause the 70s.
We missed that one. Never played the Joker.
Oh, I played that.
Maybe when we get together for our next gig, Billy, we'll play the Joker.
You ought to. But you need to sing the words that Homer Simpson sings to it, which are completely wrong. Where he sings what he's hearing,
Well, I like the bit where he goes to the festival to see BTO, and he's yelling, "Taking care of business." And we're going to play that later. First, we're going to do some stuff off the new album. Boo! Taking care of. So they start playing these, the get up at, skip that. Get to the working overtime.
Yeah, that's right. Go.
Because that's really the only part in that song anybody really likes is the working overtime.
What's weird is I was like in the 11th grade when that was out, and I like that other song better they did. Was it You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet? Baby.
They had
that
a
one.
bunch.
Let it ride or let it slide.
Let it ride, yeah.
Let it ride. Roll on down the highway.
Actually, I
Santa.
thought that was pretty cool at the time. Then
Well,
again,
it'd be pretty cool now if you hadn't played all of it 500,000 times.
Yeah.
I've got a documentary over here, a Blu-ray that came out last year, and it's all about Randy Bachman, his whole career, all the way from the Guess Who, all the way up and everything. And he's one thing about him, I will say, he has the probably greatest guitar collection I've ever seen in my life. It's a whole warehouse full of guitar cases, and he just pulls them out, looks at them. It's like, sure, don't get to play them all, but
I have a question for the panel, and Jim, you don't have to answer because I already know the answer. What's everybody drinking? I'm drinking the G Fresh. It's like grapefruit. I thought it was an IPA, but it's a Pilsner from Fort Hills, the brewery, local brewery here a few miles from my house. And they had, as y'all know, I never drank upscale beer until just the last few months. I mean, I drink Lone Star and Pearl and other other stuff that you can buy in volume.
Milwaukee's best.
Yeah, I drink that grain belt, but yeah, today I'm drinking Fort Hills G Fresh, and it's pretty good. And that brewery is part of the reason I want you guys all to come up here. I mean, we can play a gig, but you're really coming up here to drink beer. So,
Okay.
And what about
That
you?
works.
And what about you, Beach? Because Beach is probably Jim drinks lots of different stuff, man. Beach is pretty adventurous in his beer selection.
I knew it would have the word. I knew it would have the letters IPA on it.
Yeah, that's a Rodeo Clown Double IPA from Carbach out of Houston. Jim and I,
yeah, excellent.
We ate
went
there,
there.
went there, ate and drank before we saw the Stones in Houston the last time they were through.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And Jim, you're not drinking today because
I'm drinking filtered and chilled Austin tap water.
Hey, that's a special kind of water.
Yeah.
I don't day drink much anymore. I make up for it after 5.
I got to tell you, man, that's one of the saddest things I've heard in the last 18
well, that's
months.
and
we're living through time of COVID. And
ever
I've heard
since you
some
moved
really sad stuff. And Tony Kane died yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's
ever since
still,
you moved to Massachusetts and
you don't have anybody to
and the COVID happened, and that kind of killed my day drinking for a while.
Yeah, we used to day drink all the time. I mean, we call it rehearsal sessions.
Exactly.
But mostly we just sit around and drink.
Yeah.
And Buff, let me guess. Are you drinking Coors Light?
Well, just say Buffalo, what are you drinking?
Buffalo, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking my life away.
Yeah.
This is
yeah.
Well,
and
it's just
that's still not as sad as Jim saying I don't day drink much anymore.
It's the disappearing can. Actually it's a Coors Light, but now last night was a different story.
I have a story about last night.
I had a 2 or 3 shots or 5 of Buffalo Trace.
I ran out of beer early. I don't know how that happened. Somebody had left the 30 pack out on the porch, and I think some of the neighbors got it. Because I had like 5, and then there was just like 1 left. And I'm not going to accuse them because it's completely possible I drank them and forgot. But anyway, so all of a sudden I'm out of beer, and it's only like 10:30, man, and I gotta make like another hour and a half. So I get to rooting through the kitchen cabinets, man, and there wasn't any beer, but I found some stuff that I think Joey Parrish made in his garage. It was in a mason jar out there, that peachy weechy that he makes, and I had I had just about 2 healthy shots. Fortunately, that's as much of that stuff as you need.
Yeah, boy, you better believe it. That's strong.
Yeah, and it kind of got me over. And I was feeling a little rank this morning, but I'm just cracking my first beer, man. It's taking the edge off. So,
well,
anyway, I'd like to send a big thank you out to Joey Perry.
Well, yeah. Well, you talk about that peachy weechy, and I made a big mistake with some of that one time.
You drink a bunch of it?
No, I took the Allman Brothers album, literally the Eat a Peach album.
Yeah.
And I just pulled the peach out of the jar.
Oh, and ate that peach?
Yeah. Last thing I remember, I was holding on to a seed. and I think, the next morning I kind of remembered it. But boy, golly, you want to.
See, that's like a vegetarian version of eating the worms out of the mescal bottle.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. Except the idea of a worm is free.
You're never eaten one, and man, if they hadn't killed that worm and they let it go through its, all of its larval phase, they turn into butterflies. It's not just any worm that they can find; it's a particular type of worm.
Well, does it turn into a butterfly in your stomach?
I don't know, man, but I mean, I've eaten a bunch of them, but
I've heard of people having the butterflies in their stomach, so I just wonder.
Yeah, that's probably what it's from.
Sorry about it. See, I'm making Jim shake his head.
You know what, man? You need to get another beer because you're regressing.
Jim, like I just heard Jim psychically say,
"No, really,
Counsel, I object. Counsel, I object."
No, man. What he said was, really, that's the best you could do.
No. Nobody said it was the best.
No, it was just easy.
Just easy. That's right. The game High Fidelity, ladies and gentlemen. I got a good one for you.
Okay.
And here's the theme song. Wait, we don't have a theme song. Never mind. It's probably copyrighted anyway. Even if I wrote it. High Fidelity.
Oh, I was doing the theme from Diamond Girl.
Yeah. High Fidelity. Yeah, or I could just always hear Bill Murray doing his lounge singer.
Oh, his lounge.
High Fidelity.
Right.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, he did that smoking version of Star Wars.
Yeah. Stairway to Heaven one night he did. It was so good. Golly.
What's our list?
It's I was thought about making it into an actual topic for a show, but then I said no, let's just do it as High Fidelity. All the world's a stage, okay? All the world is a stage. Somebody wise named Bill once said that. This is the difference between going to see the Eagles and going to see Kiss, that type of thing. The three greatest shows you ever saw, not necessarily musically, but greatest stage shows that blew you away of any genre, anytime, it should be very easy, right?
This is going to be tough for me since I've mostly seen club concerts.
But those are great too. Well, it depends on what they do in the club concert.
Right. You don't normally get the big pyrotechnics and the.
Well, it doesn't have to be pyrotechnics. It can be energy. Great shows, like people who are not just standing there with fun.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking about one that I saw back in the late '80s, I believe, mid '80s. Y'all remember when the Steamboat was on 6th?
Sure.
And it had the little upstairs balcony part. And
yep.
I mean, capacity on that, according to the fire marshal, was what? 175?
Sounds probably about right.
It couldn't have been much more than that. It was a really small place. And I was thinking about this because Buff did that thing with Jason Ringberg recently, and I saw Jason and the Scorchers there. And and the energy, not the volume. I am amazed that the energy coming off the stage did not blow the windows out. I had never seen anything that just. It's like when you watch a cartoon of like nuclear fission. It just kind of just came off the stage and got big, and and everybody here is familiar with their work, and so they were playing stuff that I had heard their records of, and they were playing it 2.5 times the tempo. That it was all recorded, and it was nonstop, and it was just balls out, and so that's one. Somebody else go.
Well, How about The Clash, Aragon Ballroom, Chicago, Illinois, Friday the 13th of August, 1982.
Wow.
That sounds like it was probably a pretty good show.
Friday the 13th, my lucky day.
No pyrotechnics, about 50% oversold, about 185 degrees. And it was just amazing. Totally amazing.
It was life changing.
It was really something.
All right.
Kiss. I mean, what else can you say? That's
right. Yeah.
Not much.
I'll say this. Kiss at the Circuit of the Americas, which is our F1 track here in Austin, on my actual 50th birthday, outside so they could blow up a whole lot of stuff. My wife had never seen them. They announced this show, and I emailed her. She was at work. They announced this show, and she said, please take somebody else. Please take somebody else. Please take somebody else. And I said, note the date. She's like, oh God, okay. And she had the best time. It was a terrific show. It was a great show. And a close second is, I don't think anybody does the Stadium Rock thing bigger, more consistently than U2. And their Octung Baby Stadium tour was really great. That's the one where they had like those Yugos suspended on the cherry pickers and all that stuff.
That was like in the late 90s, maybe.
Yeah.
Octung Baby was mid 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It was after their Rattling Home phase and all that. Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, man, I like all the stuff theirs I've ever heard. I never bought any of their records, and I mean, I heard them because, as y'all are well aware, in the 80s and the 90s, there was no way to be on this planet and not have heard their stuff. I mean, that wasn't possible. And I never really got into them all that much till I watched that documentary that Jim recommended. Does Mine Get Loud?
Yeah.
I had no idea Edge was that damn good a guitar player.
Yeah. Well.
Okay, Buff.
Well, you did one. Pat did two. Y'all be thinking if you've got an extra one,
Oh, sure.
Okay, because I want to do I'll just run my three down.
We'll do three.
My three, in no particular order. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, the year 2015. Buddy of mine. I never had gotten to see Bruce, and I feel so lucky that I got to go. This buddy of mine got us tickets, and it was these private boxes that they had for all the rich folks. But his boss at work got us into one of those booths where they bring you drinks during the show and, complimentary alcohol and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And the stage, the box is right there looking down on the stage. I mean, and it's just, it was just perfect. And he did such an incredible set, 3.5 hours, including bringing out our local people from Greenwood, the Swinging Medallions. And they came out and did a double shot of My Baby's Love with Bruce. He did a lot of covers that night that I had not heard him do before too. So it was wonderful. So anyway, that's Springsteen, E Street Band 2015. And then my second one, see, I'd already thought this out, whereas y'all didn't get a chance to think about it. But I had a tie for my second one with two concerts in the 70s that just, as far as I love theatrical rock stuff. So the Alice Cooper Welcome to My Nightmare tour of 75 in Charlotte, off the chain. Susie Quattro opened, but and she was great. But the Welcome to My Nightmare was just a full-on Broadway quality show.
Yeah, it's a stage show.
And it ties with an equally impressive 1973 David Bowie Diamond Dogs tour I saw, and I just never saw anything like that either.
I wonder how many of us would have liked, had we been, 10 or 15 years younger, man, how many of us would have been really into, given that we all like Kiss and we all like Alice Cooper, and how many of us would have been into Gore? That sort of, well, that speed metal thing, I couldn't ever really get into it, but I was already grown when that started to be a thing. So I was already kind of locked. And I wonder if I'd have been, if I'd have heard Doom the same time, the same age as I heard Kiss when I was 12 or 13, if I would have been like, this is cool, man.
Oh, I think your tolerance for gore sort of expires when you outgrow dick jokes,
Yeah.
Well,
so
any day now. So any day now.
So and my other one is also from my those were from my high school days. I guess I'm a little older than you guys, but you talk about shut up. You talk about getting older. I mean, being older than what we said, 14. Whenever I got into Kiss, I was more like 16 or 17. Maybe.
Right. And I wasn't 14, I was 12.
Yeah, you were just a child. And then but when I saw Diamond Dogs, I was 16 years old, so that's pretty good. But this other one is 1976. I was a senior in high school when I went to see for the third time, I went to see Kiss, and it was the Destroyer tour, which had the greatest stage show in the world. And it was right on the front row in that standing room only audience and right up against the stage. And what I have to show for it is a damaged left ear. It's got 50% hearing loss because of Ace Frehley's amp. I heard my ear pop. I was right in front of it and I heard it go poop, poop. And I went to have it checked and he said,
there's blood running down your cheek.
At the same concert, I lost a lot of vision in my right eye.
From Ace Frehley's guitar.
No, from the fire, the flamethrowers. They were right in front of me. And when that shit blew up, I could just feel my face burning. And I was like, okay, thank you, Kiss. Oh, thanks, dudes.
I wonder if anybody in our audience, I'm thinking about this while you're talking about stage shows and stuff. Anybody in our audience, anybody out there ever see Elvis and do one of his Vegas shows? I wasn't listening to Elvis then. Anybody out there that saw one of those, man, y'all ought to send Buff an email, describe what that was like, because the bits I've seen, video stuff, and he was a great entertainer, not just a good singer. He could tell a joke. His timing was good. He did that self-deprecating kind of humor. And I was, it wasn't anything that, again, he was doing that stuff when I was 11 or 12. I was listening to Kiss. I don't know if I've ever talked about it, but I did see Elvis in Charlotte. And it was that same tour where he did that Aloha from Hawaii. Right. And it with James Burton on guitar on the Pink Paisley Telecaster. And it was some kind of great. Great. He was king of rock and roll and all that stuff. But I've seen clips of like his Vegas shows.
He talked a lot of, told some stories.
He's a great entertainer, man. He had really good timing and really good sense of humor, and
which is why he was in so many movies.
I wouldn't have went more than once, but I probably would have went and seen him one time.
Well, you should, yeah. It would have been
too late now.
Well, it's never too late. You can go, but you have to go to Memphis and stand over the grave.
I don't really like going through Tennessee at all. There's no place in the state of Tennessee that's far enough away from Nashville for my personal comfort. Okay.
Wow. Well, did any of y'all have any others that you
Jim did?
Well, sure. I've seen some things with stage shows. I've seen Kiss several times when I was a kid, and then on the reunion tour. Won't go see him now because the ringers just bother me.
The what ringers?
The two ringers. Yeah, the two fake guys.
Oh, the fake guys. Yeah, it bothers me too. Yeah.
and the last time I saw him with Mr. Beach on the last tour they did with Peter and Ace. And at the end of that show, I thought to myself, I have seen Kiss just enough times in my life. I don't need to see them again.
Right.
And thus far, I've resisted going back. And I've seen Alice Cooper a couple times. And I remember the first Laser show I saw was Blue Oyster Cult on the Spectres tour, which was also the first time I saw Cheap Trick was opening for them. But the shows that really stand out to me as being just great shows are the ones that the music had so much energy. And the one that I think of is I saw the Who at Reunion Arena in Dallas in the summer of 2000. And I was the fifth time maybe I'd seen the Who, but it was the first time I'd seen it with Zach Starkey on drums.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And it was the closest to Live at Leeds that you're ever going to get. And it was it was less than a year before John Entwistle died. So it just pinned me back in my seat. They were so good. That I feel like that's the closest you could come to seeing the Who in their prime, 1968, 1970 Who. It was just amazing. And that's a show that I will always remember. You know, the first couple times I saw the Who were great, but musically that they were just had so much, I talk about energy. I could not believe how much energy those guys had for, they seemed old at the time. Now they don't seem so old.
They were
that was
age you are now.
Yeah, that was 21 years ago.
Right.
But it was just a tremendous rock and roll show.
And you and Beach, both being in Iowa and being close to Minneapolis, and it was all that great. I don't even want to call it punk, but all those great bands that sprang out of the Midwest, and Minneapolis seemed to be a thing for them. The Replacements, but y'all got to see club shows like Uncle Tupelo and stuff that you didn't get down in Texas. We got different stuff that was really good, but it wasn't that stuff. Well, what was seeing early club shows of those kind of bands that later got. Husker Du, right?
Husker Du could pin you to the wall with two notes for like an hour and a half.
I've never heard of them until they got that big blast from MTV. I mean, I didn't even know that band existed, and they were on one of those like live weekends or some kind of thing, and they were the feature.
The first time I saw the Replacements, the first 15 minutes was
transcendent.
It was almost indescribable. To this day, the best 15 minutes of live rock and roll I've ever seen. And then the next 30 minutes were about the worst 30 minutes of live rock and roll I've ever seen.
But don't you love it when it's like that, man?
and I've, and then the second time we saw them, they were great the entire show.
Yeah, the second time we saw him, it was like the Live at Maxwell set.
It was terrific. It was terrific. But and Husker Du was really something. And what, the band that you could always count on to be amazing live,
Soul Asylum.
Soul Asylum.
See,
back then,
again, I had never heard of them until they had that big MTV hit with Runaway Train, and everybody that I met that was a Soul Asylum fan said, yeah, they're not the same band now that they were then. You should have heard them then.
Just incredible live band. Just really? Every time. The Replacements were hot and cold. You always knew what you were getting with Husker Du too, which was greatness. But it was a different kind of greatness than Soul Asylum. Husker Du just was really, really intense. Soul Asylum was like the best rock and roll bar band you've ever seen, but saying bar band is not quite giving them the right kind of credit. I'm not exactly sure how you'd put it, but they were just always, they dug deep and put it all out there.
The thing I didn't get about Soul Asylum for many, many years, they would always haul out these cheeky covers. Like when we saw them in Iowa City, Jim, you well remember they did the entirety of Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
Oh, yeah.
And
I would have bought a ticket just to heard somebody cover that.
Yeah. And they did Rhinestone Cowboy, they did yada yada yada. Do you need to go pee? Oh, hey, can my puppy like debut on
bring
YouTube?
the puppy on.
All right.
We're family
But I mean,
show.
I think for the longest time, say hi, Zuzu.
Sure,
Say hi, Zuzu.
Oh,
For the
look
longest time, I thought they were doing those covers ironically. No, they like really love those songs, just like the Replacements did. You know?
Yeah, they had a thing they called their James at 15 medley. That was there were all these 70s songs strung together. You know, like 10 or 12 or 15 70 songs all strung together. Heartbeat, It's a Love Beat, and you know all
that was
kinds
the
of
DeFrancos.
Yeah, the
Exactly.
DeFranco
Yeah,
family.
no,
Yeah,
man, I remember it well, man.
Yeah, always a great show.
yeah. Well, we get to
Our listening audience is missing it, man. But
No,
that's why you need to. You guys,
she's all ears. She's all
if
ears.
you guys don't know, you can watch this also on YouTube.
right,
If for no other reason than to see Zoe.
man, she's good. God, you can almost see
She's
her
getting big.
grow. You
Getting
can almost
big.
see her grow.
She's getting big.
She is.
Hey.
Hey, whoa.
Oh, what a
Zoe's
cutie.
chipping me out. Wow. Gee, I'm glad I wasn't stoned, Zoe. That would have freaked me right out.
I'm glad I'm just drunk and not tripping balls.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let's see. It's time for recommendations, and I
made that last segment go long because I didn't have any recommendations.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to. But I'm sure these other guys have something. Which one wants to go first? Jim.
Okay, all right. My recommendation is a Netflix limited series called This Is a Robbery, subtitled The World's Biggest Art Heist. It's a 4 or 5 episode documentary on an art theft in Boston during St. Patrick's Day weekend, and I think it was 1980.
That was me. That was me.
And
I did.
And it's, spoiler alert, this from the beginning. It remains to this day unsolved. So there's not a neat resolution to it. But they talk about it's the world's largest art heist. The value of the paintings in today's dollars is estimated about $500 million. Rembrandt's only Seascape was one of the paintings stolen. They stole about 18 paintings. 2 guys disguised as cops came in and duct taped the stone security guards and stole a bunch of art. And it goes through a lot of the suspects, a lot of the interesting history of both the Irish mob and the Italian mob in Boston. And, one of the things that it has a lot of interesting history about organized crime and art theft. And one of the guys they interview a lot had been convicted several times of art theft in other circumstances. And he's from Boston, but swears he had nothing to do with this one. So you can kind of be the judge of that. One of the interesting things, though, you think of art theft as, why do you steal paintings? Probably because you sell them like to private collectors, right? For a lot of money. That's what I always thought. Turns out that amongst organized crime, stolen art is seen as a bargaining chip.
Right. Yeah.
Say you get arrested for knocking over an armored car, and you go and say, if you cut me a deal, I'll tell you where this stolen art is. And so you always have it in your back pocket as a bargaining chip in case you get arrested for something else. You can get a lighter sentence or get off.
Use it as a modifier.
Exactly. Right. So I thought that was interesting. That's kind of the theory that authorities are going on, that this was an organized crime play to use as a bargaining chip, but that it just got so hot and it was such a big theft that no one's ever used it, with one possible exception that no one is quite sure about. But it was interesting. I became interested in art theft because when I was a reporter at a small city in Iowa, a Monet was stolen from a community center that no one even knew was there. And and it was a mystery. And a year later, it turned up, rolled up in a mailbox, one of those drop boxes, those big, where you drop your mail off, rolled up in wax paper. Someone had stolen it and apparently tried to sell it or something.
Yeah.
Didn't know what to do with it, and so rolled it up in wax paper and dumped it in a mailbox in some small town in Iowa. And
I know exactly what you're talking about, but I don't want to spoil it because that's going to be like the next thing on Netflix.
So anyway, that I've always kind of been interested in art theft because of that experience covering that weird story. And this one is it's pretty good. I mean, like I said, it's not going to be something that's tied up in a bow because it's not officially a solved crime, but it was a very big art heist. It was interesting at how it happened, and like I said, the exploration of organized crime. And the Irish mob versus the Italian mob, and whether the Irish mob in Boston was really funding the Irish Republican Army, all kinds of interesting stuff. So it's called This Is a Robbery, and it's on Netflix. It's a 4 or 5 hour documentary in 4 or 5 parts. I don't remember exactly, but we finished it a couple of weeks ago. So that's my recommendation.
I got to relocate here. Looks like this puppy needs to go outside.
All right.
Taking it to the patio. Boom.
There you go.
Well, I'll go while Pat's doing that. I'll go ahead and do mine, and then I love doing recommendations, but I guess it's twice as sweet when I'm fortunate enough to come across a film, a book, or album that I had not before experienced, and that happened this week. When I found this album and I just cranked it up. It's a 4-disc set that was put out limited edition by Rhino's Handmade line in 2005. It's called Don't Fight the Feeling, and it is captures a 4-night stand at Bill Graham's Fillmore West in San Francisco, March 1971, with King Curtis and Aretha Franklin. And oh my goodness,
bet that was hot.
Yeah,
you wouldn't believe how great this thing sounds. I put in my notes, Lord have mercy. As I was channeling Billy Gibbons, I think, but Lord have mercy.
Have mercy.
Curtis and the King Bees, along with their special guest on organ, Billy Preston. And during the show, he also got to perform his song "My Sweet Lord," and also the Memphis Horns are on board to burn the place to the ground, and all that. So the Memphis Horns would open each night, and then and then the King Bees would come out and play, and with King Curtis. And then it would bring out the Queen, Aretha. And these were the first shows Aretha did without her normal band. Jerry Wexler from Atlantic decided that to get King Curtis and the King Bees to back up the Queen of Soul on her set. So each night, like I said, the horns open the show, adding Curtis and his band, then adding in Aretha. Some incredibly awesome instrumental takes, including Curtis's big hit "Soul Serenade," a great instrumental version of "Them Changes," a whole lot of love, a "Signed, Sealed, Delivered," all that instrumental with his incredible saxophone playing, and a really beautiful cover of "Whiter Shade of Pale," just to name a few.
One of my favorite songs of all time.
What a great song. And the King Bees play it really well too. So yeah, then when Aretha would walk on stage, she owned the stage, and she would start off each of these 3 nights with respect. RESPECT.
She started with that. Wow.
Start with the biggest one, right?
Yeah. Well, normally they close with the biggest.
Yeah,
one,
normally, but Aretha just went ahead and got that right out of the way. And as I said in my notes, she sang about respect, and she certainly earned it. She got it. She had all of it. On the first night of the show, she had a special guest playing with her that you may have heard of, a little guy named Ray Charles. So it's just,
piano player.
yeah, he played piano a little. She did like covers of. She did a cover of "Love the One You're With." She sang "Spirit in the Dark." The original album is made even more special by the addition of all these recordings that were not included on the first release, including a really take on Dr. Feelgood. I can't recommend this soul-soaked set. That's some pretty good alliteration there. Soul-soaked set, strongly enough. The greatest rock and soul hits up until 1971, filtered through the smoking hot sax of King Curtis and the one-of-a-kind voice.
Okay, man, who wrote that copy?
Yeah, I did. I use
Yeah.
radio copyright.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, it's like everything I think turns into a review because I'm so used to writing reviews. And then I got a one sentence thing to add, which is unrelated, but is another recommendation that I ran across this week, and it made me happy. It's a website. It's a website. If you like Bruce Springsteen, and who doesn't, other than Billy, if you like Bruce Springsteen,
I love Springsteen. I just pretend not to like him, man, because it bugs the hell out of Patrick.
yeah.
We have to have something to argue about, man.
There's a website where every single day they put up a obscure or interesting Bruce Springsteen song for you to listen to. And they have some great stuff on there. It's called eStreetShuffle.com. Easy to remember. eStreetShuffle.com. I'd never heard of it till a few days ago. And somehow I ended up on there, and I was like going back through all the past, I don't know. I went back about 3 weeks, and I said, okay, you got to get some work done. So I went back in it, but yeah, man, it's great for all the Bruce fans and everything. But don't forget, the main recommendation is that album, and it is called Don't Fight the Feeling, Don't Fight the Feeling from Rhino Handmade, 2005. A huge box set with nothing but good stuff all the way through. And I recommend turning the volume up to 11 on that.
Or even 12.
Or even 12. All that being said, now it's time for Patrick Beach to share.
Before I get to sharing, I gotta recommend we all pour one out for one of the first writers who took rock music seriously, who died this week, Ed Ward. We've talked about his.
I saw that.
His 2-volume history of rock and roll. He wrote 2 volumes, and he was hoping to write a third. And he went on ahead this week, and he liked to act like he was a cranky bastard, but underneath that crust, he was a really sweet guy and very generous with his insights and corrections. And I did not know him well by any means. I just met him a couple of times when he came back to Austin. The last time was a couple of years ago, but
he worked for the Statesman for a while, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Long time ago.
That was one of the Austin American Statesman's first big hires, because he was a nationally known music writer. He hated the term music critic. He was a music writer. You didn't want to call him that, but he had written for Crawdaddy and Rolling Stone, and then the Statesman recruited him, and all of a sudden the whole music scene in Austin was on notice that this guy was not going to put up with their nonsense. He was very demanding, and he would tell you exactly what he thought. So Ed Ward, R.I.P., or rest in rock, let's say R.I.R. But my recommendation is by one of his music journalism heirs. It is an ebook, Kindle only book by Ira Robbins, who was the founder and editor of Trouser Press magazine, which was one of the magazines I cut my teeth on as a kid.
Remember Trouser Press? Did not know the founder.
It's called Music in a Word. And it's not in a word. It's about 250,000 words. and he projects it to be the first of 3 volumes. So he's giving Robert Caro a run for his money as far as the word count. It is sort of a hybrid memoir and anthology. And Ira and I are now friends on Facebook for whatever that's worth. And he seems like a really nice guy. I said, your magazine changed my life. I'd read about bands in your magazine. I'd find a record store that would, be selling the records that your magazine wrote about. And I was hooked. And so I've been a big fan of Trouser Press and Ira for a long time. But what I didn't know is that his early life it could have been written by Woody Allen. The classic New York, Upper West Side, Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, Jewish. His father was a rare stamp dealer and a communist pamphleteer. he spent summer camps at socialist camps in the Catskills, at which one of his guitar teacher was the elder son of Ethel and Julius Rosenberg. Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
And he also appears to have been an incredible pack rat, because there's pictures throughout this book of all these ephemera. Like, he would make a little neighborhood newspaper or newsletter when he was 9 years old and such and such. And he wasn't much interested in reading or writing in high school, because everything he was assigned to read, he would say it's all about the class struggle, us versus them. And he initially wanted to go to technical school for some sort of radio engineering, because he didn't feel like a 4-year degree. But anyway, he somehow found his way into music journalism at a pretty young age. And as I said to him in one private message exchange, I was like, your magazine changed my life. And he said, it sure changed mine. So, Music and Award by Ira Robbins. It's going to be a niche, especially if you're not into the post-punk and new wave stuff. But he's pretty good company on the page. That's my recommendation.
Excellent. It's on my list for sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good, man. I was
just started it.
I was also a big fan of Trouser Press. I had the faux pas. You guys, I'm sure you remember, several weeks ago, mentioning Trouser Press as being a British publication, because
not so much.
I just didn't know. I just knew they had a lot of British artists on the cover. The first one I ever bought had Costello on the cover, and
well, they covered a lot of British artists. That reminds me of something somebody said about William Buckley. So what part of England is William Buckley from? And the person he asked the question to said, the new parts.
The new part.
Yeah. That's a great recommendation. I tried ebooks and all that, but I don't know. I just like to have a book I can hold in my hand. I don't know.
I do too.
I've got a Kindle or Nook or something that I read on, but I really can't stand reading. I mean, I read on the computer every day with all my work and everything, and convince people to read Kudzoo magazine, which is also online. Billy's got a beer.
I know our listeners are shocked.
Yeah, I know how. Yeah, and now they can actually see the colorful can.
Yeah, I'm not drinking Lone Star, which is weird. I can get Lone Star up here, but I haven't been drinking it.
Yep. Well, we're going to play a song, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about unplugged songs. Like I said, my
Unclogged.
Unclogged. My original idea was, songs that are normally done electric, but instead somebody had done an acoustic version. But there really are no rules, and we'll see what you guys come up with.
That's good.
The one that I'm going to play, for anybody watching on YouTube, just know that we can't legally play records on YouTube.
It's a copyright violation. Right?
It's copyright, but you can if you want to hear the songs that are being played, there's a link right below this video to the Kudzoo Radio Hour, and you can go back and not only just listen to everything we said again, which is, that way.
And who doesn't want to?
Who don't want to? Because, you got to take notes. You got to take notes on the recommendations and all the intelligent things that we say, especially about beer.
Yeah, because that's going to take up 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah, yes.
And it will be on the final.
I have a question. I know you can't play it on the video, but what song are you going to play?
Well, I'm going to play a live acoustic version of a song that I love called "Stuck in a Moment" by U2.
That is a great song.
It's actually just Bono and the Edge doing it.
And what's great, now that you've said it, the people watching, even though they can't listen to it because we can't play the song because copyright violation, but they are hearing it in their head right now.
Yeah, because and sometimes you do get stuck in a moment.
Sometimes you just hear things in your head. But my lawyer has told me I shouldn't talk about that.
Well, you can talk about it, but don't act on it. That's what my psychiatrist told me.
Maybe.
Hey,
Ignore alien orders.
Before we break, Jim, Before we break, Jim, do you want to say anything about the forward-facing book with the blue cover behind you?
What?
Oh,
Sarah's book.
Meredith and Me. Yeah.
Oh, that's my wife's book. You should get it.
And
it's on Amazon.
And there's some cool stuff in there about Griffey.
There is.
She wrote some stuff about Griffey.
I had no idea your wife wrote a book.
Yeah,
she did.
About their daughter Meredith.
All of it, all the words in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Typed them right out on that word program.
And Jim, where might a person purchase said book?
I believe there's some copies on Amazon. I'm pretty sure you can get it on Kindle. It's just about out of print for the 3rd or 4th time. So I don't know how many more print copies, if any, that are going to be printed. You could probably find some used, but yeah, I think the Kindle version's still available on Amazon too. We get little statements every once in a while, so check it out.
Tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, it's called Meredith and Me. It's by my wife, whose name is Sarah Barnes, and it's basically about the first 18 years of raising a child with special needs.
Right,
and it's a memoir, basically, and what our life has been like with our dear Meredith, who just turned 24.
Good God, dude, shut up.
Last
Man,
Sunday, just turned 24 years old. So
shut up.
So anyway.
Yeah, out of all the crap that's happened in the last couple of years, I have never really felt old till just now.
Well, I mean, Griffey's how old? 26?
About to be 27.
Yeah. I didn't know if he turned 27 yet, but I figured this year he's going to be 27, right? This year?
In September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and for anybody that doesn't read Kudzoo and doesn't know, me and Jim, we've been in a band together now for well over 20 years. And we met at a parent support group for special needs kids. Griffey, we had Griffey and Meredith, and we met them on Parents' Night. And And Jim didn't tell anybody he played guitar, and Sarah did. She said he plays guitar, and after I said, "Are you any good? Don't lie to me, because I'll know." Yeah.
Well.
Anyway,
true.
That's very, very interesting. Very interesting. I got to read that book. I'll be seeking.
It's a good book.
That's a really good close up of Pat's skull ring there, by the way.
Sorry.
Very Grateful Dead of you.
Did you want to close up on my beer?
Yeah. Well.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
We gonna make shameless pitches. Riding Double Leatherworks, man, just sent me this guitar strap.
Got you a great guitar strap.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had left my other one in LA, not this past time, 2 years ago.
It's got a name on there, Billy Eli.
Yeah. Aren't you glad we're doing this by Zoom?
Are you related?
Not in the same room, because if we were in the same room, that's the Lone Star cap, and I'd bounce it off your forehead. So
it wouldn't be the first time. Probably not the last.
All
right, we're gonna shut up now and listen to Bono and Edge, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Well, okay, that was, of course, Bono singing and the Edge playing guitar on a really cool acoustic version of
It's a great song, man. What a great song.
It really is. It really is. And I mean, I liked it on the album, but I like that acoustic version especially well. So we're going to talk, speaking of acoustic, it's funny you should mention that. That's what we're going to talk about, is great acoustic performances. And we're going to start with Mr. Jim Hemphill with his list of unplugged acoustic performances that he thinks are
unclogged acoustics.
Yeah.
All right.
Unclogged. Yeah. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, I got kind of a motley list, because some of it is stuff that was originally electric and then done acoustic, and some of it's not. But to dovetail on what Buff just played, I'm going to go ahead and do this one first. And that is the ad hoc band, as in ad hoc only, I think, performed once, called Automatic Baby, which was Michael Stipe and Mike Mills from REM, along with Adam Clayton and Larry Mullen from U2, doing the U2 song One acoustically. It is amazing. It's on YouTube. I don't know that it was ever released officially, but Stipe sings the U2 song and just knocks it out of the park. It is just really, really something. Mike Mills, REM's bass player, plays acoustic guitar, because bass is handled by Adam Clayton from U2, and of course Larry on drums. It's a great song stripped down to its essence, and hearing it sung by someone other than Bono, who's a great singer, but just adds that another dimension to it. You know, it's a great song from Achtung Baby, but it's just fantastic the way that those four guys do it together. So that is an example of, I think, what Buff had in mind, of a song that is reimagined, recontext, put in a different context, and just really, really shines. So that's pick number one. I'm not going to pick anything from the Nirvana Unplugged session, just because it's so legendary and it just seemed too easy. So I'm not going to go there.
I am.
But the whole thing is amazing. If I had to pick two, I'd pick All Apologies and then their cover of Lead Belly's "Where Did You Sleep Last Night" / "In the Pines." But I'm not gonna mention that at all. So
I wouldn't mention it if I were you.
Consider that unmentioned.
That you didn't mention that.
The one MTV Unplugged performance I am going to cite, and it's just barely unplugged because there's a full drum kit on it, but it is really, really a great performance, and that is Pearl Jam doing "Black" from their first album on MTV Unplugged. It's just a terrific performance. Eddie Vedder again just hits a home run, and it's, like I said, it's just barely unplugged, because it's almost a full band, but it's a great performance. And so, you know, I've got to mention it because it's so good.
Also, the lyrics of that song is perfect for an acoustic version.
It is.
You know,
it is. It's a song about, you know, yearning and knowing that you can't have something that you really want to have. It's a great song. Next is, I guess I'm going to go next to a song that is always acoustic, but is, again, too damn good not to mention. And that is Richard Thompson, 1952 Black Lightning, Vincent Black Lightning. It's just, the version on the studio version is fantastic. But get on YouTube and see some of the live versions, because he plays it differently every single time.
Three of us here saw him do that live.
I've seen him do it live a couple, 3 times, and he goes out on a limb every time.
Yeah, that was something you said after that performance we saw, and you said the thing that always amazed you about the way he played, he never plays it safe even once. He jumps out on a limb every single time.
And as great as he is, technically as a guitarist, he pushes himself and plays stuff that is just right at the edge of any human's ability. And it's just really something. And on top of all that, right, it's a great song. It is a terrific song. He's a very unique vocalist, a good vocalist, but very unique. And you can go down a rabbit hole on YouTube and see lots of different covers of it, because lots of bands have done covers of it. Reckless Kelly from here in Austin.
But nobody should. That's one of those nobody should cover, man.
It's just been done by lots and lots of folks, but it's just the great marriage of an amazing guitar player, a great composition, a great story, and it's always acoustic. So this is not something that is that was electric transformed to acoustic. It's just too good to not mention. So 1952, Vincent Black Lightning, Richard Thompson. Next up is something that is I'm going classic rock now, and that is Pete Townsend doing "Won't Get Fooled Again" acoustically.
Yeah.
Now, maybe the best known version of it is from a series of charity concerts called the Secret Policeman's Ball, where he plays with classical guitarist John Williams, and the two of them do it acoustically. For my money, the best version is a version that I'm not sure where it's from, but it's a later version, I think from the 90s. Townsend doing it in a studio, and he just rips. And the magic of a strong, fast right hand with a flat pick on an acoustic guitar is completely illustrated by the way Townsend does this. It's just magic. And Townsend's actually a much better guitarist than he usually gets credit for. Another thing one that almost made my list instead of that was Townsend's version of the beat, or the English beat, Save It for Later, that he does acoustically several times. It's in a really weird tuning, and there's one version of it on YouTube where he goes into this long finger picking thing that is technically impressive, that I don't think a lot of people know that Pete can do that kind of thing. But you hand him a Gibson J200 maple jumbo guitar and a flat pick and have him do "Won't Get Fooled Again," and it's really, really something. So that is, and he's a great singer too. That's the thing about Pete, is he's not Roger Daltrey, but he is a fine singer and has a very distinctive voice. And of course, it's one of the greatest rock songs of all time. So for my last one, I'm going much less well known, but someone else who celebrates the virtues of a strong right arm with a flat pick and an acoustic guitar. And that is a guy named Ed Hamill, who performs as Hamill on Trial. And you hear people say, well, that person could do punk rock with an acoustic guitar. If you haven't heard Ed Hamill do it, you haven't heard it done. And Hamill on Trial, the song I'm picking is called Sugar Free, and it's from his first record on Mercury called Big as Life from the mid-90s. Ed lived in Austin at the time. I think he lives somewhere in New York. He lives in Brooklyn for a while. And his music has gotten more political, more overtly political, and he's picked up Robert Christgau as a fan in the last several years. But back in the mid 90s, he was doing club shows in Austin, and it's just him and a guitar, and his mouth runs as fast as his right arm, which is incredibly fast.
He's just electrifying.
Did either of you guys ever see the show he did with the Austin slam poet Whammo, the Whammo on Trial?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they didn't rehearse that, and it was seamless, man.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just seamless. I saw that at the Electric. That's one of the last things I saw at the Electric Lounge before they closed the doors, man.
Yeah, Ed Hamill played at Electric Lounge all the time. Last time I saw him was actually at the 20-year Electric Lounge reunion here in Austin at the 310 Theater at Austin City Limits Moody Theater. But check out the song Sugar Free. The best version for my money is on a live recording called Ed's Not Dead that was made when he was touring with Ani DeFranco. So he was playing to big audiences, and he comes out and opens his show with Sugar Free. And it's just a song about, why can't we just give it to each other straight, no candy coating, just straight up truth. And then he has a rap in the middle about how he just wants to get in the game. He just wants to be part of the game in the rock and roll world. And it's really something. Hamill on Trial, Sugar Free, check it out and check everything else he does out. So
man,
there you have it.
Kudos for you, man, for Hamill. I hadn't thought of him 15 years.
He's also got a song about a friend of his who tried to rob a Kentucky Fried Chicken with a spork.
With fork. My
fork.
wife and I rarely say the word fork without referencing the lyrics to that song. A fork. Ed is really something. Hamill on Trial. Check it out.
Okay, Beach.
All right. I don't have a list. I've got ruminations. Because
I've got a list of one that I'm gonna do after you.
All right. I was just thinking about like great moments, great acoustic moments I experienced. And one of them was seeing Neil Young solo acoustic at Bass Concert Hall here in Austin, Texas, where about half of the show he spent like wandering around the stage trying to figure out what he wanted to pick up next. It was a very strange but wonderful performance. And you got to see a guy with a very delicate voice, obviously, not backed with the roar of Crazy Horse or any kind of electric band, but just like getting into his own head and sharing it with the crowd. I went to that show with my mother-in-law. I probably wouldn't have gone had she not said, "Hey, I need a date for this show." And I'm really glad I did. Well, that's one moment. Another moment was back when you guys know I'm going to bring up Drive-By Truckers, and you guys know I'm going to bring up the next person. Drive-By Truckers went out a couple of times on a solo acoustic tour, not a solo tour, but when Isbell was in the band, Drive-By Truckers went out with a tour they called The Dirt Underneath a couple of times. That was where I first heard Two Daughters and a Wife at the old Antones on, what was it, 7th and Lavaca, Jim? Does that sound right?
Yeah, where the ping pong place is now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right up the street from Spaghetti Warehouse.
Right.
Yep.
Three guys just sitting there drinking whiskey and playing songs, and it was so wonderful. The first night I went back, the second night, and the second tour for Dirt Underneath didn't come around Austin, but I've got a poster hanging over our bed from that first weekend.
Great
so
show.
That was really cool. Speaking of Richard Thompson, I saw Richard Thompson play 1952 Vincent Black Lightning before it even came out at the Maintenance Shop, a little 130, 140 seat club in Ames, Iowa.
Does anybody know if they still open?
Yeah, kind of.
Are they going to survive the lockdown, you think?
Yeah, they still have
music. It's owned by the university, so
okay. Yeah, so all right. So it's like
it's in the
Cactus Cafe. They're saying.
Exactly. It's very much like the Cactus Cafe.
For those of you out there in internet radio land, this is basically the UT's version of the Maintenance Shop is the Cactus Cafe. Very small listening room. And I saw Richard Thompson play that on an acoustic guitar at a table full of three other women. And I was just absolutely mesmerized. And at the end of the song, nobody had ever heard it before, of course, because it hadn't been released. Rumor and Sigh hadn't come out yet. And at the end of the song, I took my eyes off Richard Thompson because I was watching his hands and wondering if I should just cut my own hands off so I could never play guitar again. And all the women
I'll vote for that.
All the all the women at our table were just like weeping, like their dog just died.
It's a very moving song.
God. And also, I've got to get on. I've got to get on MTV Unplugged because there were some great moments. Like Jim mentioned, Pearl Jam and Black and Nirvana, absolutely fantastic. But one he didn't mention, and I mentioned this with some hesitation because you guys are going to make fun of me. So go ahead and have your fun.
We were going to make fun of you anyway.
But
doesn't matter what you say.
On his MTV Unplugged, there was a legendary artist who did as much as he could to rehabilitate his own self-sabotaged reputation. Rod Stewart's Unplugged was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
I don't doubt that. The guy's an incredible damn singer with a
amazing,
great catalog, man. His songs, and I don't know that he wrote them, but the stuff he recorded is great, and he can sing, man.
Yeah, and he didn't kick around a soccer ball the whole time, you know? I mean, wasn't it, Jim? I've confused Chris Gow and Grill Marcus or whoever a couple of times, but wasn't it Chris Gow who said nobody has ever betrayed his talent so completely as Rod Stewart?
I think it was Chris Gow,
except Hank Williams Jr.
Yeah.
Well,
except Hank Williams Jr., who had real stuff and was a real guy for about 18 months.
Yeah. And you guys will thank me now that you've had your fun. You guys will thank me because I'm taking a knee on the fifth down. I'm not going to say anything about Springsteen on Broadway because you know what I feel about
that. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, man. I have one, and just one, and I probably could think of more, but I have one. And I had seen when did Roger McGuinn made that big comeback in the late 80s with the Tom Petty thing.
Back from
Rio. And I had gone and seen that show, and I had that album, and man, it was, you know, it had all the great stuff on it, and Petty and all his band played on it, and it had an Elvis Costello song that me and Jim really like on it. And
great song.
You know,
what a great song.
Yeah, I mean, and it was just a good album, and it was the first thing anybody had heard from McGuinn in 10 years or something like that. And then you know, he kind of had the MTV hits and did the tour, and I went and saw that tour at the Paramount when they came to Austin, and he just kind of faded back in the background. And you know, I didn't think about him very much other than the fact that y'all know I'm a real Birds fan, and this would have been about 2002, 2003. He was doing a solo thing at Cactus, and actually,
Cactus, yeah.
I got tickets, and I got tickets for Jim and Sarah, and we all went. And I tell you what was cool, man. There was no showbiz glitz on any of that shit. He was just an acoustic folk musician playing the songs of his that everybody knew, and I wasn't really expecting all that much. I mean, you know, come on, you guys have been in Austin now longer than I have been, and people playing acoustic guitars just aren't that special there, are they?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, all right, it's going to be cool. And he's playing all this stuff, and at one point, Jim leans over and he says, you know, it's not losing anything by not having a band. I mean, it's the song, and it's not a different version. It sounds like the thing that he put out on the radio. And I, you know, and I've seen other Unplugged stuff and scaled down stuff, but
I interrupt for just a second.
Absolutely.
The point that we haven't talked about, which we really should, is the tone is in your fingers. It doesn't matter what you're playing. You know?
Well, yeah, and that's kind of it. And then, you know, and Jim, me and you talked about this later. It was hard for me to determine the next day, was he really that good, or did I just think it was that good because I really like him and really like all those songs. But I mean, it was the Birds, man. I mean,
the thing that was so surprising to me about that show was, two of the great things about the Birds are just the lush sound with that electric 12-string and the harmonies, right? And he is doing, he was performing in a format where he couldn't do either of those things.
No, and it still was
and
amazing.
It still worked. Yeah, I mean, that was the
it
surprising
did more
thing.
than work, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
So he's up there with an acoustic guitar, and he's
that 12-string Martin he played.
And he's not a very physical singer. You're kind of reminding me of when I and Jim has too seen Bob Mould, who's a very physical singer, but he plays a 12-string acoustic sometimes, and it just roars like an electric guitar.
Yeah.
That's how this was. It was so downstated, and I was so expecting it to be, like
Flat.
like a bird show on Valium without side guys.
Yeah.
And he started playing, and it was just like, oh wow, and the reason that I brought up that Back from Rio thing, he did a couple of things off that Back from Rio album, and one of them was that big radio hit he had with Petty,
King of the Hill.
King of the Hill. And I'm thinking, man, there's no damn way this is going to work in this particular application. And I was wrong. I mean, it was just something. My second pick, and I think Jim turned me on to
this. Said you had one.
I added one. My second pick, and I think Jim turned me on to this. He sent me a link years ago. I am not an REM fan. I mean, I like their hits. You guys are real into the band and all the stuff that they did. I like the things that I heard on the radio that I like. And, so probably 4 or 5 REM tunes. And I'm like, yeah, them are great. The rest of it, I don't know. I don't know that much about it. Jim sent me a link to a YouTube video of those guys when they were still touring in a van.
Yeah.
Of in their hotel room playing Don't Go Back to Rockville.
Yeah.
And I mean, and Stipe is sitting between the beds at the motel, and they got whatever they're filming it on is sitting on top of the TV. And Mike Mills is playing an acoustic guitar on one side, and Peter Buck's playing an acoustic guitar on the other side. And I have never heard a vocal performance that was just that goddamn good. I mean, no mic, no board, no anything. And Michael Stipe just shot that through the goddamn stratosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to that, and I was like, I don't know how I don't like this band more. And I mean, they were probably 22, 23 when they shot this. I mean, they were still doing college clubs, and I don't even know where it was from. It was just something that was on, somebody had posted up on YouTube that they had done a video clip of, off a camera from their motel room. And
cool.
I should try and look that up. And any of y'all out there that like REM or that song Don't Go Back to Rockville, y'all should look it up. It's an incredible version of that.
Mike Mills wrote that, and it was about a girl he didn't want to go back to Rockville, and once they took it into the studio, they countryed it up a little bit. I remember it came out on an EP as well, with a couple of, and I bought the EP, and my brother was visiting. My brother lived in Arizona, but my brother was visiting, and I said, and my brother was into country music, and I really wasn't, but I said, hey, Dan, I think you might like this. It's kind of country. And I played him Don't Go Back to Rockville, and he's like, really? So you think that's country music?
Close. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They were so great at that time, that period in time. Uh, Around that time, that's like I said, I was in college, and my friend Sander turned me on to all those early REM singles and all, including Rockville and Wendell G and all that kind of stuff. It was great. I wanted to make a note before I do mine. I want to make a note going back to what Billy was talking about, Roger McGuinn. Just quickly, I just wanted to say that when we were doing Edge magazine, uh, we had a magazine in Greenville called Edge, and in 1991 through 94. In our office, we had a balcony, and the back balcony faced over the amphitheater stage at the Peace Center. Uh, so anything that was on the amphitheater stage, we could watch for free. So we would grill out or whatever on the balcony and just watch whoever's out there. So I got word that Roger McGuinn was going to play solo at the amphitheater, and it was early. He was playing at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we all got our various beverages and stuff, and
Y'all was boozing.
yeah, exactly. At least that, maybe something that smoked too,
or narcotics.
or narcotics. And we were sitting there and watching it, and my then girlfriend, who ended up being my wife,
before she divorced you.
Yeah, no, she didn't divorce me, but we were don't do that. No, she never divorced me. The she did worse than that. She died on me. But anyway,
it's a lot more radical than a divorce.
Yeah, a lot more radical, and a little bit harder to take, I might add. Anyway, there was 5 or 6 of us sitting there, and from the time Roger started up, through his whole set, we just kept looking at one another and going, "Is this really one guy?"
Right.
Playing that 12 string, and the first thing he played was Feel a Whole Lot Better. And then he went.
Yeah, he played that at the Cactus Show, man. And I was like, good God, man, he does. It sounds like 6 damn people playing.
It did. I mean, he went to, did all the hits. He did turn, all that kind of stuff. And then he did so many great Birds and McGuinn solo songs. But man, it was one of the greatest. And I would have never thought about that had Billy not mentioned it. I should have put that in mind, but I'm gonna run mine down real quickly now. Jim had said earlier, the thing, his own self-imposed rule that if it was something really obvious, it was just kind of skipping over, including Nirvana, Unplugged.
That's why I didn't mention the Almond Brothers.
Well, yeah, I'm not mentioning any. Let me see, no Southern Rock. But my first one is actually Nirvana, because I remember watching that the night it aired, and I didn't know much about them at the time. I really didn't. What I did know was that they played "The Man Who Sold the World" by David Bowie, and it just knocked my socks off. I was like, yeah, I like these guys. And then it's so weird that I never was a huge Nirvana fan. In fact, I was the only one in America that didn't buy that Nevermind album. And but I ended up being a big Dave Grohl fan and getting everything he ever recorded. So kind of balances out, I guess. And but I did get I purchased the download of Nirvana Unplugged later on because of The Man Who Sold the World. I just think that's great. And my next one we just played a little while ago, and that's that U2 Stuck in a Moment from the 20th anniversary super deluxe reissue of the album All That You Can't Leave Behind. Is the Edge and Bono doing that live. And I love it. My next one, I think I'm the third or maybe the fourth one today to mention the name Richard Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
There was a cassette tape that I had back in the days of cassettes in the early 90s when I was playing gigs at least 3 gigs every week, and I was driving all over hell and half of Houston, and I would listen
Same
to
thing. That's
yeah,
the same thing.
I was going to say half of Houston actually has broader boundaries than hell.
Yeah.
You might could actually get out of hell.
but hell is in Houston. It's called the airport. Yeah, I've been there, and it is hell at the Houston airport.
610,
I've got my own,
610 and I-10 at 4 o'clock.
I've got my stories about that airport, but that's all. Anyway, so this compilation cassette of various artists. I've been trying to remember the name of the compilation. I've been all over the internet. I can't find it. I don't know. I lost the cassette years ago. I know it had maybe Sarah McLachlan and a bunch of people doing acoustic things. It had Richard Thompson doing B swing, and that song just killed me. I mean, I would, it made me so happy just to hear that when it would come across, and I wasn't so aware of him before that. I wasn't so aware of the Richard and Linda albums that I went back and purchased, or the Fairport Convention, which I didn't know much about either. And I went back all because of that one song. I started digging back into Richard's back catalog.
Man, that guy can write, not just play guitar.
Incredible.
He's a good writer, man.
Very emotional songs, emotional, invoking emotion, and I just love it. So, no, she was a fine thing, fine as a bee's wing, man. Yeah, heck yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So my next one,
Hey, hate to interrupt, but I got to sign off now, y'all. Great seeing you, but I got a commitment that I got to get to. So
okay.
See you next week, man.
See y'all next week. Thanks, y'all.
See you
later. And then there were 3.
And okay, now he's gone. We can talk about it.
Yeah, we talk about it. Well, my last 2, neither one of these will be a surprise to you guys at all. Not at all. My next one is Maria McKee, and it's from acoustic album, Acoustic Tour 2006. That was just her and a guitar and a piano, and that whole album, Acoustic Tours 2006.
I bet that was great, man.
It's fantastic. My pick is the song "Shelter," Lone Justice.
Who doesn't like that song?
It's a great song. The album is other really great ones on there. That song that she had called "A Good Heart" is hard to find. That she tells tells the album. What the hell am I trying to say? She tells this story on the album about Dave Stewart from Eurythmics. Heard that song and he said he would make it a #1 hit. "A Good Heart" is hard to find, and he did. She said he did, but it wasn't for me. So I have to research it. I'm not sure. It might have been Eurythmics that recorded it, or Annie or something. I'm not sure. But Maria sings it very, very well. And so that, and then also on that same, she ends that live set with a Bruce Springsteen song. She does a great version of Backstreets, and it's all acoustic.
You big fan of them? I have a question. I can't remember this off the top of my head. That album "Shelter," and it had that Jimmy Iovine, the big Lush, lots of stuff. Didn't she have a song on there that was essentially her and a piano called "Wheels"? That I know the sound of your wheels.
Yeah.
And it's that is a wonderful break in the middle of that album, man.
Yeah, it's great.
It's her playing the piano and just singing that song, and yeah. Anyway, that you were just bringing up the acoustic part, and I had thought that was that way on that actual album.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah. Well, my last one's no surprise at all either. Golly. I'm going with Bruce Springsteen and the slow acoustic version of "Born to Run." Originally done at for the Amnesty International concert in 1988. that
And
he
I
did.
had never heard that until about 3 months ago. And Pat said, "Man, go listen to this."
Well,
And I did, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
It's amazing. He did that. He did that tour, '88 tour with Peter Gabriel and Tracy Chapman and all those, Sting and all those others. I can't pronounce the other person's name. Endure, or what was it? That artist. Anyway, it was somebody with one of those hard to pronounce names. Anyway, he put out a 4-track EP called Chimes of Freedom. It's live, and all the money went to Amnesty as well. And it's got that Born to Run on there, acoustic, and also not acoustic, but equally impressive is his version of Bob Dylan's Chimes of Freedom that's on that.
Yeah, I would have figured somebody had to have played that at that gig.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We are talking about the same Born to Run version that's bluesier and not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And I had never even heard of that.
Changed the alliteration.
I did not know it existed until Patrick sent me a link and said, "Listen to that." And I was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, I love it.
Again, I really like Springsteen. I just pretend not to bug
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Springsteen on Broadway. Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Buff.
No, that was it.
I had, man, there was something I was wondering about. I don't know very much about that show, Springsteen on Broadway. Patrick, do you know anything about it?
No, he might have heard it once.
I've been meaning to get to it. I won the ticket lottery to go see the show. You had to cut off a toe.
Give a pint of blood.
Yeah.
And
burn part of your hair over an altar.
I won the lottery to go to the show, and Cindy came home and was like, "Hey, I won the lottery and I can buy tickets tomorrow." And she's like, "Well, I haven't been to New York in a couple of years." And I said, "Who said anything about you going to New York?"
Oh,
and yet you're still married.
And yet we're still married. And then I said, "They say even if you win the lottery, there's no chance you can sit together." And then she said, "Forget about it." And I didn't want to be away from work, and I didn't go. And let's see, I've watched it about 5 times on Netflix, and I've got the CDs.
Would you make a different decision if you had to do over again? Well, man,
if you have to think on it that long, there's a problem.
Well, here's the thing, man. The show's kind of, we sort of ran past the end of what we were talking about. But
do you think?
Well, but here's the thing, and I this is something I get asked quite a bit. Do you have any regrets? And I don't really have any regrets about anything I ever have done, except one thing. I was booked into the Palomino Club in North Hollywood and canceled that gig because it was just going to be too hard to get there on the timeline that I had to work with. And I talked to whoever had booked me, and they said, "Look, man, we like your stuff. So when you're going to be in Southern California, let us know, and we'll put you on a ticket with somebody." And they shut down 3 months later.
Shut down. Yeah.
And man, I would literally, man, give my damn eye teeth, because I could replace them with plastic, to play that gig, man. I mean, the Burritos played there, George Harrison played there, and the Birds played there, and that, right. And I could have played that stage, and I didn't. And I canceled that thinking, oh, well, I'll make it up some other time. And then we ran out of time. And that's why today, man, now, and anybody that knows me very well knows this, I only cancel a gig under 2 conditions. There's a bone showing, or I can't get the bleeding to stop.
Oh, boy, wow.
And besides that, I make the gig. I don't care about the money, don't care about the slot, don't care about any of that. And so I just wonder, man, because you had a shot to get there and see that show.
It would have been fun to have seen that. I got a lot of friends in New York, of course.
Right. Yeah.
But I can watch it on Netflix whenever I want. and Cindy didn't want to go, and so I guess I don't regret it.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
Well,
And
you know, there's a lot to be said for not having to deal with the crowd. I mean, I've got the thing on DVD now, and I'll put it on the big screen TV and watch it several times. And
Mhm.
it's almost better than being there in person because you don't have to, fight the crowds or
and
anything.
that's something else, man. Looking at it in retrospect, I mean, and that's, you mentioned the crowds, and both of y'all know this, man. I won't hardly go and hear live music. I mean, even if I'm on the damn guest list for somebody, because I can't deal with the crowds.
I can't stand it either.
Yeah, and it was a few years ago in Austin. I was friends with a bunch of the guys in Arlo Guthrie's band, and Arlo was playing Green Hall, and they said, "Hey man, we can hook you up with with all access, and we get you on a list." And I was like, "No thanks." However, my mother-in-law is a huge Arlo fan. Put her on the list, and they did. And my mother-in-law loved it. She got to go down. She got to go up the will call ticket, say, "I'm on the list." They ran it down, gave her pass, and so that was cool. But no, man, I didn't want to go.
Well, I got spoiled several years ago being a journalist and also making connections with all these folks. So I established this rule. First of all, I have to get in free, and secondly, I have to have all access and be able to have stay backstage or on the side stage.
Man, even at that, there's too damn many people back there for me to be comfortable. I just do not do well in crowds of much more than about 20 or 25.
Well, most of the bands that I've gone to see, they kind of limit the amount of people they allow backstage. I can't stand a big crowd, and I've said a lot about Billy Bob Thornton, but of all the shows I've gone to at his, he seems to be that way too. He seems to like not wanting to be just, inundated with a huge crowd of people around. So they kind of,
I mean, that's the reason I don't go to 4th of July parades. I can't. Yeah, I can't be in a crowd with people moving all around me. After about an hour, man, I get a little homicidal.
Well, speaking of homicidal, has nothing to do with what I'm going to say.
You out?
That's cool. I just wanted to tell you about next week. I have a topic. What we do? I have a topic, and it's called "Video Killed the Radio Star."
Okay.
And it's music videos that were so powerful, image-wise.
I got 5 already.
That they burned into your very mind. These are the videos you would sit watching MTV for hours just to hope and see. And I've heard you guys talk about a couple of them in the past, things that you've never seen anything like it and maybe never would again.
I got 5 or 10 now.
And Billy, you're going to talk about the White Snake video girl again, aren't you?
I'm not, but that was a good one.
Yeah. So anyway, and I'll let Jim know about it too. But I
don't think you ought to let him know. I think it'd be a whole lot more entertaining if we spring it on him.
Yeah, I think so too. With Jim, he would just come right up with the answers. So, what can you say?
Yeah, it's because he quit day drinking. I think that's a form of cheating, don't you, Patrick?
I do too. Yeah, y'all be good.
All right, I'm out, man. We're going out with a song. We're going out with, guess what? Bruce Springsteen, Acoustic, Born to Run.
What a good song. See y'all next week, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks a bunch.